So before this video begins, this is not a positive video. I don't know why I'm starting this channel off on a negative note, but here we go, I guess. This video basically serves as the start of what I want to make on this channel, which is more opinionated content. Pretty different from my first video, which was just an Odie pen animatic. Also, this is my first time using an actually written script for one of these, so let's see how this goes. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. Stories from Styx is the concept album for a musical made by Casper Fox about the Hades and Persephone myth. It's not fully finished yet, as there is only one part out. And I don't like it. Now, don't get me wrong, this musical is being made by some incredibly talented people. And I have nothing against them. I just have my own issues. And I am not the only person to have issues with this musical. In fact, I've seen a lot of posts and comments on posts talking about the issues that this musical has. So in this video, I am compiling some issues that I've seen people talk about and some issues that I have myself with this musical. And to preface, I have no experience in writing music, nor do I have any experience in writing lyrics. So in the grand scheme of things, my opinion does not matter here. So you can choose to take my opinions into account, or you can choose to take my opinions with a grain of salt. And also, just because I'm making this video doesn't mean I wish any ill will or intent on Casper or any of the wonderful voices that are in this musical. I've just decided to make this video for fun and because I've been wanting to rant about this for the past few days. So, anyways, with that, let's move on. Okay, so let's start with some positives.
There is no name for a mother losing her child.
There Is No Name is one of the best songs released so far in my opinion. Though I feel like that's not really a hot take because of what I've seen online. I love how it deals with Demeter's rage that her daughters abduct her. And I like how she isn't villainized for her worries or actions. At the end of the day, she's just a terrified mother worried for her child. Also, all the singers by themselves are amazing. All of the singers are incredibly talented, and I hope they will continue to do great things. Though, this is all that really comes to mind when it comes to positives. Which means we are starting to get into the negatives. If you don't want to hear my issues or critiques, I click away now. And again, I don't know anything about writing music or lyrics, so you can take all of this with a grain of salt. Anyways, let's go. So, let's start with the one that I noticed first, and the one that actually got addressed by the voice actors. My first issue is Persephone's voice. The voice itself is fine. The voice actors Tegan Early is incredibly talented. It just sounds like they're filling the recording with effects. I have seen some people call it auto-tune. In my opinion, it sounds like they're pitching her up. I've probably been playing clips throughout the video, but you can hear it specifically in, I think, Crossroads. It's in the one where Persephone and Hades are doing a duet. This kind of goes into my second issue, but the pitching is out of control. Like, during that duet, you can barely hear Hades. But speaking of Hades, that brings me to my other thing. This is more of a sentiment that other people have, which is about the casting. I've seen people say that Casper, who plays Hades, was not a good choice. Which I can see where people are coming from with that. When you think of Hades, you think of like the big boss of the underworld, but in Stories from Styx, we didn't get that. But I am willing to give them a pass on this one, because a lot of musicals do this. Like, think of Hamilton. The original cast of Hamilton had Lin-Manuel Miranda as the main character. Like, a lot of musicals like this cast the person that made the musical as one of the main characters. So I see this as a similar case. But when it comes to the Hades and Persephone characters in musicals, you might be more inclined to think of Hadestown. Which, in Hadestown, the Hades is usually played by older men. So I do know why hearing Hades in Stories from Styx probably feels very off. Another sentiment I've seen online is that Stories from Styx wants to be, like, epic. which Casper has come out and denied, and I'd be inclined to believe him on that. But I think that sentiment is said because this came out like a few months after Epic had quote-unquote ended, so I think that's part of where it comes from. The other part are the visuals, which I will mainly get into later. The thing I will mainly bring up are the artists themselves. All of the artists, or at least most of the artists, are or were popular in the Epic fandom, either by making popular fan animatics or by doing canon animatics for Jorge. But I would not take that as evidence that Stories from Styx is an Epic ripoff. One of the, in my opinion, the most supported critiques is that Stories from Styx feels rushed, which I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it was, because a lot of these musicals that have been coming out, I think they've been trying to kind of ride the Greek mythology high that's been happening. And by that I mean, Greek mythology is basically a really big thing right now. It's the thing that's being constantly talked about, and people really want to see that. And so I think a lot of people are trying to get in on that, which is probably why Christopher Nolan is making an Odyssey film next year. But something that these people don't really realize is, this stuff takes time. Like, Jorge has been working on Epic since 2019. That is or is almost 6 years, and Epic is still not even close to being done yet. Musicals are not just a one and done thing. They take years of trials and tribulations, and I think some creators just don't realize that. And this isn't me saying that Casper thinks that, because I don't think he does. The issue is that Stories from Styx Part 1 feels like it was released too early. And I know that Stories from Styx is still being worked on. I just feel like it needs some work. The last issue I have is about the visuals. Now, this isn't about the visuals themselves, they are stunning, they are amazing. The issue is that, with how Stories from Styx is as a media, with long periods of just music, you kind of need the visuals to understand what's going on. Which Casper has defended by saying that Stories from Styx is more character-driven than it is plot-driven. But my issue with that is, I'm pretty sure Greek myths are more story-driven than they are character-driven, which is what he's adapting. Like, we already know who Hades and Persephone are. They, as characters, are centuries old. We don't need to get fully introduced to them again. But the lack of story really is an issue with some people. I've seen a lot of people bring it up, and I do kind of agree with it. Now, all of this said, I don't think Stories from Styx is bad. It has potential, it just needs work. In fact, if a musical based on the Hades and Persephone myths interests you, go listen to it. I implore you to. I don't hate this musical, and my opinions don't matter in the grand scheme of things. I'm just a random person on the internet spouting their random opinions. Don't let this random video on the internet change your mind about Stories from Styx. And in the wild chance that anybody on the team sees this, then hello, I hope to see you guys continue to make great things, and never let some random people on the internet stop you.